In this video, we will learn how to use an if statement. An if statement checks a condition in parentheses. If that condition is true, the code inside the curly braces will execute. If that condition is not true, nothing will happen. You might hear the expression, if the condition returns true. So we're looking to see whether this condition is true or not. I will demonstrate the if condition or the if statement by using the prompt method of the window object. That will give me a message box asking the user for some input. The value that the user enters will be stored in this variable called age. So what I'm going to do in my if statement is I will compare the value being passed from the prompt and stored in the variable age to this number 21. And the comparison operator is the double equal sign. What that is saying, it's saying that are the two things the same? In many instances, it might also say are the two things equal. But however, it might not. It's comparing the two. And if the two are essentially identical, then the code inside the curly braces will execute. So let's take a look at how this works. Here is my prompt, and if indeed I enter 21, the code inside the curly braces executes, and we see the result of my alert method. Now if I enter a different value, you see that nothing happens. Supposing I accidentally used a single equal rather than a double equal. How would that affect our if statement? Now it's asking me what is my age, and I'm going to tell it it's 50. Notice it's saying congratulations. Wait a minute, what's going on here? What has happened? Over here in my if statement, I am no longer comparing two things. What I have just done, I have just reassigned the value of 21 to the variable age. Remember, equal is the assignment operator. It assigns a value to a variable, or it is used in performing a mathematical calculation. So remember, the double equal sign is the comparison operator, and that is used with the if statement. We have the ability to use the else clause should we want to execute some code if the condition is not true or false. So here our if condition will either evaluate to true or to not true, and in both cases we can execute some code. If the if does not return true, the else will automatically execute as the if is not true. We also can add an else if. As a matter of fact, we can add many else if clauses. Notice that the else and if are separated by a space. We are testing many conditions. If none of the conditions return true, then the final else will execute. However, the first time a condition returns true, the program will stop and exit out of the if. So here we see a compound condition. We are checking two things. We are checking to see if the age is greater than 0 and less than 13. We are using the logical operator OR, and we are also using our conditional operators. Should you wish to place the individual conditions in parentheses so that it makes it easier to read, you may, but make sure that the parentheses are in the right order. Notice we need to repeat the variable name on each side of the logical operator. So here we're looking for a range between 0 and 12, and if that is true, we will execute this alert. If that is not true, we check the second condition. In the event that that is true, this code will execute. If not, we will check the third condition. If that is true, the code will execute. If not, it will check the next condition. If that is true, the code will execute. If not, we will execute our final else. Again, I want to point out that these are all connected, and the first time the condition returns true, the program stops and continues on. So if we were to type in a 3, there we see our alert. There's our 21. Now we'll do 15. Notice I'm typing in an invalid entry, and therefore our last else executes. So you want to make sure that you can execute that code for every condition so that you know that your else is set up correctly. So let's take a look at what we have here. We have our test for the age being 21, and we also have an else if the age is greater than 20. Well, 21 is greater than 20. And remember, the first time a condition returns true, it stops. So if I were to type in 21, it will stop at the first time the condition is true, which is right here, and it will never read that. So I'm just pointing that out. In this file, we have several separate if statements, and even if there was an else clause, they would still be individual ifs. In this case, the browser will actually read each one because they are not connected with an else if. When you have one long if with different else if clauses, the first time the browser encounters a true, meaning the condition is true, it will stop executing and it exits out of that if. In this case, every one will be read and if the condition is true, executed. Notice I have age is greater than or equal to 20 and age is equal to 21. If I were to enter 21, both of these conditions would be true. So you should use separate ifs if you are evaluating conditions that are not related to each other. For example, checking the value in form elements. If you are evaluating a variable with related conditions, then you would use an if-else if.